We're all set? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Pownell Special Select Board Meeting, January 4th, 2024 at 6:02 PM. This is a preliminary budget discussion meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Board member roll call.
Angie Rowling.
Amy Percy.
Brian Harris.
Mike Gardner. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda, public comment, preliminary road budget review and discussion, preliminary general fund budget review and discussion, public comment, executive contractual, executive personnel, public comment, and adjourn.
So moved.
Second it.
Any discussion, changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment, Hannah? Okay. We're gonna go right into the road budget review and discussion. And we have, Ellen's with us tonight for any questions that anyone has. So,
If you don't mind, I got.
no, that was the time.
I asked this a few years back and I don't remember the answers I got. And, but how many budget adjustments, line item budget adjustments have we done?
For FY 24,
Yeah, the one that we're in now.
we don't do budget adjustments until June.
I thought we did it.
You did them for FY 23.
Okay,
In July, you voted for FY 23 budget adjustments, and it's just line item to line item. So when voters vote, they vote for the total budget, not per line. So we can do that, but
right.
I don't know how many, maybe 10 lines. And those lines have been adjusted in this budget to show the increase from FY 23's
Okay, yeah,
expenditures.
that was my other question. So we got our budget that was voted on the town as far as what the voters budget voted for. And the money we inputted on per line. And is that on here for the newer number with the adjustment?
Yes.
Okay, that's,
But I think the answer to Jamie's question, we only vote as a board one time on budget adjustments in June, correct?
I've done that a couple times.
So you might have done it, so you did road in general one time, and then you did the wastewater budget adjustments a separate time. But it can happen because what happens is when we pull so in June, when I pull all the numbers together and start looking at where to move money around, because we can.
Right.
Because we vote, we don't, so if we floor voted line for line, the budget's the budget and you can't do anything, but we overall vote the whole budget line. So when we do budget adjustments and I start pulling together numbers for adjustments, we still have July and August where bills are coming in for the previous year. So that's what we used to do, just do them in June and then maybe do it one more time. I try to do it more toward the end of July because by then, most of the bills for the previous fiscal year have come in, so we're not doing it 3 different times because then it's confusing. Then you don't know what I'm adjusting or not.
Well, and the reason why I asked is sometimes, we put a number in there where we hope we're close. And whether it's a contract or something else, could be a piece of equipment that we didn't know was gonna go haywire. And once we reach that line number or the amount, then obviously, once we start going over, we're gonna have to adjust that number.
Right, but we don't always, so sometimes, so in the road, say, equipment maintenance. One year, you might have equipment that breaks down all year round. They've dumped all this money into it. We had to make an adjustment. Then the next year, only a couple little things go wrong, so now you have less.
Right.
So you kind of have to weigh where you want to be, and that's where Joel comes in, because he knows his equipment. So we do the best we can. So again, we're budgeting for FY '25. The budget adjustments we did were for FY '23.
Right.
We're only working in FY '24, which we had already done the budget for before we did budget adjustments for FY '23. So we're trying to figure out 2 years ahead of time, or a year and a half.
Year and a half.
So we know prices are up. So numbers have been adjusted accordingly between, me, Joel, and Tara sat down and went over numbers.
No, I think you guys do an awesome job.
But no, good question.
Some people are asking me specifics and like why we have the leftover money that we vote to move into the budget. And some of that falls in with, because sometimes we don't use that money.
Right, if we,
Just a little bit because,
yeah, but the budget, after the budget adjustment, that's still the same number, what's left over for taxpayers, unless we take it from the contingency fund.
correct.
Or expense line. I just called it a fund. It is not a fund. How many times have I lectured you guys? Don't call that a fund. So I was, I saw your eyes light up. I'm gonna get you, Ellen. So,
Good save.
so when we don't have to adjust from there, that's an automatic, money that kind of help, and that happened years ago. We used to have a fund, tax something fund. And the auditors years ago had us dissolve that fund and turned it into the contingency. Okay, if our budget keeps going up, we will have to start budgeting more money in the contingency line, expense line, because it's a percentage that you're kind of supposed to put in there. We've kept it at 50. It's been working. Nobody's overspent the budget for general or road since I've been around, and I think not with Clint or any of the previous treasurers either. I don't think so that's our aim, is to not to have to borrow, to keep going until tax time. So when we do give back to the taxpayers, it's a revenue back to the taxpayers, which helps offset the next budget. It also gives you the option that if you wanted to put a little more money in a fund, that's kind of offsetting an increase in a fund line too. Instead of having to go to the voters, you can give it back to the taxpayers, and then we do what we need to do with the budget to hopefully not overspend. We've been lucky. Things are not good out there, and we all know that. So let's hope our numbers are good for FY '25.
Thank you for that.
So Jamie,
You
you,
have any more questions, Jamie?
No, she answered everything
So you're good on the road budget?
Mhm.
Okay, and do you have any?
don't have any questions, so.
I have a couple, Ellen, sorry.
No, that's, no, please ask, because I can to answer. I didn't bring my other paperwork with me. But I can get what I need to, so.
FY '24 budget. And we'll start right at the top of page 1. FY '24 budget, down under state aid, we had 332,500. This year, FY '25.
Where are you? By 330 to state aid.
Yep,
Okay.
200,
The road grant.
82.
So you did 332,500 and we went to 161,500.
I know,
Difference is,
I think I know the answer, but I just want everybody to know the answer.
the answer is we had a state grant for culverts that we budgeted in the revenue and the expense. If you deduct the 200,000, it would have been 132,500.
I guess that probably wasn't a question. I just wanted to be clear why there was such a difference for
That is
the residents and taxpayers of town, not so much a question.
for the revenue side. Yes, that's the difference.
Okay. That takes care of that one. Black topping fund, 143,500, we're at 168,500. I believe that's more, it's probably, cost of doing business. I don't think there's any plan to do any more black topping than what we have. You guys work with Joel. It's just budgeted for cost of doing business.
It's the cost of doing business. We have our black topping fund has, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but not a lot left in it.
Right, right.
So he increased it by 25,000 to make sure that he can cover any black topping that he wants to do in FY 25.
Right, so just so the, once again, so everyone's clear, because I've talked to him, his plan is to continue the same amount of miles that he's been doing or as close as he can.
But the price has increased.
That's right, that's right. Okay. Page 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I had that. Wages and payroll, self-explanatory, maintenance, fuel, down under, 25115 culverts and bridges. Down to, from 267.5 to 20,000. That again is because of that culvert project on Mount Anthony Road.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Um, and these are probably questions for Joel. 251.43 salt and chloride. Went down to 197 from 239.
That's because of the equipment fund. So if you go, so that total, if you go back up to 251.43.100, that's the equipment fund.
Yep.
Last year, we budgeted 100, and well, this year, FY 20, we're putting 50,000 in, so it went down 50,000.
Okay.
So there's your difference.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Basically, when it's up real high, then you look where you can bring it down, just.
Right. And then we added in for FY 25, the JD John Deere loader.
Yep.
Just an interest.
Yep.
Last year, we had already done the budget, so it's not in our FY 24 budget, but we do have a payment this year.
Okay.
Okay. But we knew that when it was approved, that was going to happen, and we will.
Yep.
That will be an adjustment we have to make down the road.
And then I guess the only other question I had is total expenditures went from, 1,462 to 1,268.
That's that 200,000 basically.
Again. That's what I thought.
It all down the.
Tracked,
It tracks it all down the pike, and then it tracks it on the revenue side. So we don't have as much revenue coming in. So that is the increase on the current tax.
so on the surface. Okay, because I have to take my glasses off so you're not blurry. On the surface, it appears that the road budget went down about $194,000 from total expenditures.
Only because of the grant.
Right. Because of the grant. That's what I want to, that's right. So it really, the road budget itself, from my perspective, went up slightly, but not a huge amount because it's really down 194, but it's because of the 200,000 that we don't have income this year.
Basically,
Is that a
yes.
fair assessment?
Yes, basically.
Right? We're $6,000 to $10,000, and these are rough numbers. I mean, I didn't get into the dollars and cents on this whole thing because why, right?
Just, what the bottom line is.
Bottom line, right, okay. That's the.
Making it sound like it's gonna go down, but it is not.
Exactly, that's the question I had for Tara,
Expense lines went up
that
due to increases in costs.
on the surface, right, on the surface, I asked Tara this question the other day when we were talking about something else.
Where is he reading? Oh, he's reading down here. You're reading down here.
Page 3 at the bottom.
This is total budget,
Right, this is how much it increased though, right, from that to that.
only this section.
Give you a better number down here.
Yeah, you would think.
Right?
It doesn't, yeah.
Okay.
We just don't have any other revenue sources. Joel is getting a grant. He has a grants and aid grant coming in, I showed it on the revenue, I showed it on the expense.
Right.
That basically one washes the other. That's the only grant he knows of positively, so that's been put in the budget.
I guess where I was going with it, Ellen, is people are gonna see the bottom line and they're gonna see that the road budget appears to be down $194,000.
But it's because of the 200,000.
Because of the 200,000 and it's not really going down. I just want that, and I just want that transparency out there. That's where I told you the day at first glance, when I saw those numbers, it looked like the road was going down. But then when I dissected the budget over the weekend, it was like, okay, it's really not. And because you told me it really wasn't, Tara, and that's right. That's right. Those are the only questions I have on though.
If you have any questions where you guys think you can reduce any expense line, we should discuss it with Joel, but we have discussed it a couple times. We did, Joel gave us a different budget. We went through it, we put in numbers, we went back through it, we discussed it with Joel. He did cut some lines ahead of time.
I think my opinion is it's a very super solid budget, given the increase in the cost of doing business.
And it's
still going up.
And it's still going up. And unfortunately, we don't know where it's going to cap.
Right.
They say the economics out there is supposed to be getting better, but we haven't felt it in here. And you can tell by looking at the bills. So
Yeah.
Honestly,
we're hoping.
honestly, I'm very comfortable with this road budget, the way, and I went through this budget pretty much line by line, obviously. I spent a lot of time on it.
And I'm going to review it again, before you vote on it, because I got to make sure my positives are where my positives, my negatives are where my negatives. If I find a data entry error, you will be notified immediately. I will give it to Tara.
Right.
I have looked to make sure, just to remind you guys, when you review it, revenue lines have no negative in front of them. Expense lines have a negative. If you second to glance through it again, make sure all expense lines have negatives. The revenue is easy. It's right here. There's no negative in there. It looks good.
Been over it a couple times, actually.
So
I have a lot of time.
to look it over one more time, make sure my negatives are where they're supposed to be. It usually tells me if I forget to do that, but it tells you more when you put a negative in a revenue line. He'll be like, oh, no.
And I don't mean to,
It doesn't really tell you that in the expense.
I don't mean to I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I just want
Okay.
everyone,
Hard time.
but that's not what
I know what you mean.
I just want the taxpayers that are watching and people that are paying attention to and watching in the future for this. I want them to know the real numbers rather than have a fictitious thing in their head.
Oh,
That's all.
I totally get it. No problem.
Yeah.
Ask away. That's why I came.
Thank you. Thank you, by the way, for coming in.
any other difference?
Should you, when you vote on it, in case we have to change anything before then.
Yeah, I think the numbers, I mean, we can read the preliminary numbers if we want to, but I don't
I
think
mean, you can tell
they're gonna change.
if anything happens when we go through it, if
I haven't seen one yet that I've been here that hasn't changed a little bit.
right, there's a good chance. I mean, you never know. You guys could read this over one more time and go, I think maybe that one's a little too high right there.
Right.
Or that one's a little too low. So I'm comfortable with it at this time. Joel seems comfortable. That's who I want to be comfortable with the road budget is our foreman.
And that's who I want to be comfortable. He's the one who has to implement this budget.
And people just have to remember that everything is so expensive and insurance has gone through the roof.
Right.
Insurance was 38% increase.
38%, yeah. So, I mean, that's across the board all over the country. So hopefully people realize that.
Does anybody else have any more questions on the road budget? Are we comfortable with we're obviously not voting on this budget. It's just a preliminary budget. But, if we're comfortable with the road budget, let's move on to, general fund review and discussion. Guys have any questions? Brian,
Not yet.
Dan,
I had questions last week and I asked and they answered them.
Okay,
Um. And I asked Tara the other day about the cemetery fund, but that's gonna be in next year.
Yep. Don't want to include it until we get it approved by voters.
Till we get it approved and that's gonna be on the ballot.
Right.
So I asked that question.
right. So if it doesn't, I didn't want to put a line in.
No, I
Have it hang out there for a couple of years because we put a line in and it doesn't happen.
Yep,
Because it doesn't let me just make it go away. So
right.
once if the vote is approved, then we shall put it in.
Uh,
Contractual for the sheriff, that's in here, right?
Contact law enforcement.
yeah, I got that one highlighted, Ange.
You got that highlighted? Okay.
I do.
Oh, wait a minute, let me find it. Before you even go any farther, I have to find what page it's on. Because I don't,
I was gonna try to go through page by page, Alan, one, and go ahead.
Jumping ahead.
Well, no, that's all right. I just was gonna, I thought,
go ahead.
unless we had a specific question,
Okay,
I was gonna try to go,
making sure.
you know, 1 through 8 or whatever these are.
Okay.
I did have some questions. I just thought it'd be easier for you to.
Go page by page.
And does it help with me reading the codes to you?
Yes.
Know those off the top of your head? I don't
Most
have,
of them I can usually.
I don't have a clue. I can just read them, okay? I'm good with page 1.
One's all revenue.
One's all revenue. Yeah, you know, I did through that one. Page 2, the,
I do have some questions on.
yep.
Page 2, once you get done.
The only question I had was down at the very bottom, undesignated surplus and railroad tax. So,
Railroad tax, we have no control over what they give us.
Yep.
I put in the 50,000 compared to what we received. In the previous, I think we received some railroad tax in FY '24 already, so that's where I came up with my number.
okay.
Up and down, sometimes we get 55,000, sometimes we get 18,000.
Yep.
It's given to us by the state. I have no control over that number, so I don't even get notice until they're gonna deposit it into the bank account.
Unless the board has something different, I'd like to hear Ellen's, you said you had something on page 2 that was your concern.
I do, so,
So we keep going in the same kind of,
yeah, nope. My personal opinion, and it's only my personal opinion as the treasurer, is, and I know we try to keep costs down for the citizens for the transfer station. We are gonna get hit with, we are getting hit starting January right now with a 6% increase on TAM taking away our trash.
Is it trash or is it recyclable or both?
It's
Everything, but we were gonna
everything.
talk a little bit more about it in
Okay,
later.
okay.
But
But so just so you know, I don't know if those numbers should change or not change.
Right.
For permits and
I did actually have that down for.
revenues for increases.
Yes, I did.
I think
have
we
that
have
down.
done it in a couple, I think
did
we
it
did a
last
little
year.
bit, but not much.
$10 last
Yeah, we did
year.
a little bit
With
last
the
year.
permits.
The permits went up and the mattresses stayed the same, but I know, he gave me a new
And the
fee schedule
bags.
and he is gonna increase
Some of the-
mattresses, but I'm not sure about bags and that
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
so we
one too.
did that.
Okay, good. So you're dealing with that later. So I need to, then never mind. That's all the question I have on that page.
Okay, cool.
smooth.
No. So that one's could change is what
Yeah.
you said.
Okay.
Okay, page 3. Anybody have questions there? See if I had any major questions here. Sorry, I just want to go down through each one. No, I'm good on page 3. Sorry, I made notes and then I had question marks. I just want to make sure I want to read my notes as we're going down through.
Sometimes you.
Anybody have anything on 3? Ellen, you get on page 3?
I'm also on page 3.
Okay. Page 4.
I'll just let you know about the elections. There's 3 next in FY 25, 3 elections. That's why she did some adjustments under wages and postage. Okay.
Right. And I knew that. That's why, only because I saw the Facebook page afterwards and I had that question. It's like, oh, and then I saw the Facebook page. We had 3 elections. You said it too. Okay. Page 5. Anybody have questions there? 5 is pretty much an uncontrollable, building expenses and
Contract, law enforcement.
Yes, the contract
That's
law, you went past that.
that was on page 5?
It is on page 5, yeah, it's at the bottom.
That's fine.
How did I miss that? Sorry. Sorry, Ange.
I missed it too. That's why I was going right
I
along.
have a note down there too. It's like, I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's 195.
Yep.
00.
So,
Very bottom.
On page 5, right?
Yep, very bottom.
Okay.
so the law enforcement,
Yeah.
budget went up,
So we budgeted,
about $38,000 from our budget FY 24 to budget FY 20, proposed budget FY 25. We went from 75,000 budgeted in FY 24 that's been voted on to 113 proposed budget FY 25. And that's based on, just so everyone knows, that's based on the sheriff's department proposed increase,
they went
their hourly rate, and
250.
which I don't want to divulge what that is. We're not going to. But
30 hours.
based on the same amount of hours, 30 hours a week. So that's where we as a board need to figure out what we want to do.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Shoot.
Way back, because I remember this vote in this, and the meeting when they came and presented, and it was discussed way back that the fines would help offset these expenses.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor.
Got $12.50 for last month in fines.
You say $12?
$12.
Yes, that is what she,
So the fines are a revenue line.
Okay.
Just so that you know, I want to point this out, only so that if you guys are making any discussions, you can know it's under municipal fines. I don't know that one off the top of my head, because now that we have cash receipts, it just kind of goes in. Just give me a second, I'll find it. I know that it's only a couple $1,000s we have in there. So we have budgeted, so in FY 23 closeout, we made $1,800 in fines, municipal fines, $1,900 in FY 23. This year, have made less. So we decreased the revenue line from 3,000 in FY 24 to 2,000 in FY 25, because we are not bringing in the revenue, and so we're not supposed to.
Right.
That's how you short yourself in a budget, is by not properly adjusting your revenue lines. So we did lower it, the 1,000, just to let you know. That's all I had to say.
I did have one question on the office supplies and stuff. Are we having a line item separate for downstairs, or are we keeping it all, like all electric under electric, all the or is it separate?
so I believe it's all one line.
It's all one line?
For phones and
So,
Yeah.
but they aren't on our phone, they're just using our internet, so and electric.
So it's just electric and heat,
Right. Heat.
all under one line. Okay, I was just curious if it was gonna be broken up or not.
Well, do they have a separate tank for fuel? Then they can't be broken out. Do they have a separate meter for electric?
No.
Then they can't be broken out. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
So I think we need to, as a board, discuss, the law enforcement contract. You know, in order to maintain the same level of service that we have now, hourly in our budget, the budget needs to be increased by $38,000.
Right.
To maintain the same number of hours per week.
And we did put that number in there for you to.
Yep, I saw that. Perfect. Thank you.
Get that, that way.
Jamie asked for that, you know, so it is a real number.
So you can. see
FY 20.
what happens.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, that's
Not a problem.
because the previous year, 75,000, what we proposed.
Right, we had put in 85 because we didn't know, because we hadn't heard from them yet when we started the budget.
And
Mhm.
then it ended up being within that, so that.
Right, because- and-
Budget adjusting.
Right. Well, and we only, so
We've already.
in FY 23, it was 65. In FY 24, we put 75. So I figured in FY 25, we'd put 85.
But we've already exceeded that, correct?
We've already exceeded that. That's
Exceeded what?
The 75.
the 75 for this year.
If we, right, we know, but we budgeted and then we got the increase and, yeah, we've.
No.
discussed this a few times.
For FY 24, have you looked at an expenditure report to see where it stands right now? Because you don't have
They
one in
work
front
the
of.
full 30 hours.
We have done, Ellen, is we know that we're going to overspend
We overspend, but.
if we maintain the 30 hours per week by their hourly rate.
I understand.
Right,
I understand what you're saying.
right. So we under budgeted last year for what their increase was.
Yes.
Okay.
This is where Jamie got.
Yeah.
had-
That's where I
That's where-
didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I don't retain that information because
Right,
it was a year ago and
Right. So at the 75,000 for,
I understand where that number came up.
right,
I understand where your increase came up.
we're under budgeted
I did for this year too.
FY 24
That-
Okay.
by about 10,000, right? Roughly. I think it's around 10 grand, give or take. So which makes the, well, I don't want to confuse anybody.
No, don't.
You know,
I do know where you were going. Just leave it alone. We budgeted 75. We had to increase it due to
increase our budget by $38,000 to cover.
if you keep at 30.
We keep it at 30 hours a week.
Okay,
Right.
perfect.
So that's a discussion that, do we want to, we want to discuss that tonight? That's what budget discussion's for.
We can put it on the table. I just wanted to start, if we, anytime we have a known number, I'd like to start with that known number. And then the select board can hatch it out, whether.
Right, and
Wanna
I
continue
mean,
with 30
they-
hours, or do we need to knock it down to 20 hours?
and if they always work 30, well, then that's great.
Right, so, but it's, that way we're working with real numbers. That's
I absolutely, nope. And we didn't have that number, so that's good to put it in so you can see it. Difference when you can see it.
Yeah. And, had we had the number previously for our other budgets, and we could have done the same,
Right.
but we didn't at that point.
Nope. We do now, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Give me a minute here, guys. Sorry. I just want to do a couple of quick figures. If we at the proposed rate that we received from the sheriff's department. Okay? If we cut it to 30 or to 25 hours a week, 30 hours, it drops the budget about $10,000. The budget amount, it'll go from 113 to 94 and change. Okay? If we cut to 25 hours from 30.
Keep in mind, the sheriff's department may say, okay, if you're cutting our hours, our rate goes up. That's what happened last year.
I know, and we never got the answer to that email question that you sent them.
No.
But we didn't cut their hours last year.
No,
We
but
increased-
remember they said if you increase to 40, it would be, it's like a few dollars less.
When we negotiated with them last year, there was a different
Yeah.
different hourly rate for the amount of hours that we use.
Answer us this
But
year.
they do 20, 30, and 40. They had different numbers associated.
Right, and this year I asked them for that same type of breakdown, but I just got the one figure. I didn't get a breakdown.
Right.
But
Because we did have 28 hours and we upped it to 30, is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
We
I
were,
think it was something like that, Angie. I'm trying to give us some educated numbers to work with, right?
and I know that a lot of people wanted us to go to 40 hours, but that's $150,000 a year.
Right.
Plus,
If we were to drop it to 20 hours a week, there's basically no increase in budget
That's at the present rate.
at the projected rate.
Right.
if.
Not as the
stick with
president.
that.
Or no, the projected, yes. That's right.
That's right, if they stayed with that projected rate.
So maybe we need to
Reach out to them again
really find out.
if they're gonna change.
I would say, what is your rate gonna be for 20 hours, 30 20, 25 and 30 hours?
Yeah. We can send that again.
Yeah, but we need-
I know, Tara, I know.
One more time, I'm.
There's an email chain out there that says that. But they didn't answer that question.
Oh, they didn't.
So I think I think we need to really seriously look at that.
Right.
And I think we may need to make a hard decision on that, one way or the other. Excuse me, as a board, but I think we need a little bit more information before we
Make a decision.
make that decision. That's just my opinion. But I think that's a major, 38,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but 38,000 is quite a bit of money.
Penny plus.
Penny plus, right? Anything else on page 5, guys? Sorry, I'm sorry, I missed that, Angie. I have it marked too. Nothing else on page 5?
No, I was good. That.
Whoops, let me go to 6, not 7.
Oh. Well,
Page 7. Everything there's,
Concerned a little bit about the shelter, animal control shelter expenses.
hold on, 7, where are you?
that was,
On page 6.
that was from a ballot article.
That was the ballot article.
Oh, okay.
The animal
Sorry.
shelter, so it's no longer exists.
So now the expenses are just ACO expenses and training. If there's any issue, then we will deal with
Okay.
it, but there shouldn't be an issue. But that was from the ballot article.
Thank you.
yeah, that whole page is basically level funded.
Yep.
For the most part. Page 7 is, transfer station ballot articles, which we have no control over. And, those are, the increase, Ellen, of, 30,000 on the ballot articles is based on, are those based on petitions,
It's,
requests that have already come in?
yeah, the library is increasing their request for support of a director by 10,000, so
Yep.
going from 20 to 30.
Okay.
And Pownell Fire Protection is adding a ballot article. They're still selecting signatures, but they are hoping to add a ballot article for 20,000.
And they have until when for ballot articles, do you know?
Mid-January.
Yeah, so if that doesn't, if they don't get the signatures, that 20,000 will come back off.
Okay, yeah,
Or you vote to pass.
right. And that's, I just wanted to make sure that everyone saw that and knew that too.
Mhm.
Page 8. Anybody have questions there? You have anything on that one, Ellen? Insurance, like a huge, huge jump. That insurance, doubled plus. Went from,
Ellen, you should explain what the childcare contribution is. So that's something new that's on the.
That starts July of 2024. I have to get in front of it. 25. See me pulling the, I'm still working. I'm in 4 different fiscal years still.
I'm sure.
So, so that is a 0.0025% thing through the state of Vermont that gets taxed against employees,
All wages.
all wages.
This is something new and I want people
It's
out there.
something new,
to
it's very minimal. If you take somebody's gross pay for a year and times it by 0.0025, it is minimal.
Okay.
That covers all general fund.
but it's also a mandatory.
We have no option.
No, I'm sorry.
You can take some of it from the employee, but we put it in the budget for the town.
Because it's so minimal.
Right, it's mandatory no matter where it comes from. It
Where it comes.
has to come from
I
somewhere.
just wanted that out there.
Right.
And different towns, the majority of the towns are picking it up.
Mhm.
Some are not, but
Any questions on the general fund? Comments?
So the rescue squad didn't come back with a.
no, I had talked to Becky. They pulled that maybe next year.
Okay.
They were busy and unable to go out and knock on doors. Ask.
So first appearance, the general fund looks like budget goes up.
130.
It is.
About 130.
130,000.
Yep. And 30 something thousand is the sheriff's if we go with that.
Well, there's two big,
General,
there's two major,
oh, you're talking about there. Yes.
the two major, well, yeah, sorry, Alan. And correct us, wherever we should be looking. I mean,
Oh.
I'm looking at that bottom.
Going by what needs to be raised by taxes. I know you're looking at the whole thing.
Looking at.
I got it.
Expenditure. We're gonna be looking there?
You can look there.
Oh, okay.
I always flip back to the amount to be raised by taxes. That's really the bottom line for me, but
I know it is.
where you're going.
I know that's the bottom line for you, and that's the bottom line for us, right? I get that part of it,
I know what you're doing. You're telling everybody to.
but the bottom line is the general public sees
Yeah,
whatever it is, sees $130,000 difference.
yeah.
I get that.
I know you do. And I get exactly where you're coming from because you've explained it very well to me a couple of different times. Because I'm a little thick, it didn't sink in quite good the first time. But it did sink in the second time, so I know exactly what you're telling me, okay? At least I'm honest, right? Huh? I told you, there's no gray with me, it's all black and white.
We do have conversations, Mike.
So out of that $130,000 increase, when I look at this budget that has been prepared for us, okay? There's $39,000. It's uncontrollable for interest or for insurance.
Insurance, yep.
$39,000 right out of that 130 is uncontrollable. We have no choice. Okay? And there's nothing we can do about that. So you can take 40 grand, which drops it down to 90. round numbers,
Mhm.
right?
I like those.
And the sheriff's department budget of increase of 38,000. Now we're down from 90
50.
to 55-ish, right?
Yep.
Where the town, where the select board and the town expenditures went up basically $55,000 that we could control. Is that a fair assessment, Helen?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just that, once again, I just want everybody to know where we're at financially and what we actually have control of. This is a conversation I had when I was on the school board. We have very limited control over a significant amount of money, and it really irritated me on the school board, and it irritates me here.
Percent control.
I know. I wasn't going,
And again, if you can increase some revenue lines, it will help to offset those other expenses. I brought up the other thing.
yeah, I know.
Yep.
Because that is a large expense and we need it without,
Right.
so again,
So we need to get those numbers from the sheriff's department. It's still not gonna be, we're still not gonna be able to do a whole bunch of, because realistically, other than the sheriff's department, we have $55,000 to work with on this budget, between 55 and 60,000 to work with on this budget to make cuts
or increases in
or,
revenue,
or increases in revenue.
and you're not
So-
gonna increase.
Exactly. So other than the sheriff's department, there's not a lot of room that we have to work with this budget
No.
this year.
No.
And I just want to make sure that's out there.
I want to now go to, just so
Hey, we're not going backwards here.
you have to go backwards, because
What page are we on?
and I think the first page, but I did, listen, I'm winging this one. Middle of page 1,
Okay.
100-2040-0000, general interest.
Yep.
I just want you to see the difference.
I
So,
did see that, actually.
so People's United closed, sold to M&T Bank. M&T Bank gives us much better interest rate on our road account and our general fund account. Small accounts, the other accounts are about the same. These two accounts, and we're not getting charged for extra things. At this time, they haven't changed any of that. Our revenue, it has increased dramatically on interest. So I set the FY 25 on about where we stand right now in FY 24.
Yeah.
Hoping they keep up doing what they're doing, because we're finally making some money. It'd be great to be able to go back out and do CDs and et cetera again. CDs cost as time consuming.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden a disaster hits, then you get penalized and lose your interest. It's some of your money anyway. Down the road, it's an option, but not while the economy is the way it is. I mean, CDs are paying good interest, but how much money can we really tie up and guarantee?
I just too.
Yes.
I do too, because I used to
Mhm.
10, 15 years ago. It was a lot of paperwork for $200
Yep.
Right.
because I couldn't tie up a lot of money. We could only minimal amounts because we never knew
Right.
what could happen. Need a new piece of equipment all of a sudden for the road. Flood. You just never know.
Ellen, the undesignated surplus, is that that's a concrete number on the bottom?
Yep, I'm going to verify that one more before you vote. I'm gonna go back through all the funds tie together now with the general, so it's easy. I take all the total of the funds at FY 23, end of FY 23. You take your fund balance, you subtract the two, that gives you undesignated funds. I still have an old worksheet that I use together now, shows up on our balance sheets, to verify the numbers.
But there's no,
I still manually do a sheet. So I am 99% sure those are the numbers, but I have to go back and do
Oh, I understand.
time to verify because we haven't had, and the auditors always go over that paperwork, but
Well, I was hoping you made a huge error and it was gonna go up,
I know, and I can only hope.
but you know.
I can only hope. I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling pretty confident.
No, I know.
I never say 100%, even after I give it to you and say it's my final. I still,
Right, no, I understand.
but yes, that is something I will be doing in the next Friday, Tuesday.
Any questions for Ellen on the budget? Any comments from you guys on the budget?
No, I think the girls did an outstanding job.
I think I think if, when you take and put it into perspective that 30, when I say it was $39,000 or whatever went for insurance. So you say 40 grand and another 40 grand went to the sheriff's department budgeted. 38,000, even though we're expending more in 24, we under budgeted, but bad, sorry, bad us. Well, not our fault, but
We didn't know at the time, so.
that's right. When you take 130,000 and you take 80,000 off the top,
It's not so bad.
it's not so bad.
No, not considering what things cost and what they're.
Again, prices are tough.
It is,
Right.
it is bad, in a sense, but it's just. I think, one of the decisions we have to make is that sheriff's department, that's a penny plus on tax rate.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Every 40 grand is a little over a penny, right?
Mhm.
He got hit with the same thing that we did.
Well,
There's not.
it's happening everywhere. So,
It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
the only, one of the options we have is revenue increase. Hannah and I are gonna have to, the zoning administrator, gonna have to write a lot of, violations. Hang on, guys. Just kidding.
Gotta get your electric car to go around.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Any more questions on budget, road or general?
No, I said it before, I think they did an awesome
I
job.
think we did it, and I do have to say that, the budgets have gotten incredibly easier to go over and incredibly quicker to go over than when I first started on this board. It was
awful.
meeting after.
Now, I don't have to tell you.
It was awful.
It's hard work and it's.
I hope that we as a board are trying to make it a little easier for you.
You are, and I like, and that anytime that Tara forwards something to you with the budget or et cetera, you either reach back out to her or me or both, and we will get you your answers so that when we do finally get a chance to sit down.
Well, she did that.
Gather, and she did, she told, after a meeting, she'll come to me and say, listen, this is what we need to do, or that these are the questions, and we discuss whatever. So, I just say, we have a great team going on, and I'm very happy.
It's a whole lot quicker if you ask me.
It's easier than going line by line, because if you review them beforehand, then you can ask your questions on the specific lines that you're really concerned with.
Well, this comes down to us.
Yeah.
This comes down to us doing a little bit of homework,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's our job.
That's your job.
That's our job.
No,
Take them home and read them.
yep.
Definitely reread it.
I got a lot of quick notes on mine, okay?
Do it again, because
I'm good on.
questions, again, reach out because you haven't voted on it. It's not written in stone.
At
So,
one point, she was ready to cry and realized, would you put 2 million instead of?
oh, I did a typo and I go to flip and I'm like, I get to the last page where amount to be raised by taxes. I mean, the computer does it for you. It tells you right here on the bottom. It gives you a number and I'm like, $2 million. What? So I had to go back and I'm like, oh, look at these extra zeros. But that's how you know you make an error, because I've been here long enough.
System helping? Is it easier?
The numeric system, so I've never had a problem with the general ledger and with the numeric system. I never had a problem with any of the modules, really. Every now and then, every computer system glitches.
Oh, of course.
And it does glitchy things, the internet, if it cuts out or something happens, sometimes it's a quick phone call to them and they can go in the background and do whatever needs to be done. So,
Good.
yeah, so I do like I'm comfortable with Nemrick at this time.
Good.
And I have adjusted to the cash receipts, so that seems to be going well because that was our newest module that we had years ago.
Yeah.
Hopefully we weren't creating.
That's more work,
When do we,
but it's okay because now there's more people putting the deposits together, handing them to me. So it's,
what is the date that we need to have the budget done for you?
Tara,
I can give you 2 more weeks, I think.
I think so. I think it's a couple weeks before you have to, because then it has to go.
I have to get it in the town report and I
Yeah.
have to have the town report done for the beginning of February.
Yeah, and I think we have to,
That's-
I think it's on that VLCT thing when we have to. So definitely by next
That's the
week,
same as.
if you kind of maybe can squeeze something
Well,
in or
before
the
the
week,
30th.
beginning of the week after.
I would,
We'll get you back a definite date, Mike.
Can we just say this? Can we do, next week is a regular?
Yeah.
If we have to, we'll do a special the week after.
And then we can wrap
Cause
it.
that gives me time to get it in the town report and
I'm gonna challenge the board. I'm gonna challenge us.
Next week.
I'm gonna challenge us to have the budget done on the 11th.
the only thing to keep in mind is we'll still be waiting for the fire protection.
Right, you
protection
can't have the budget done
signature.
until, vote on the budget until after all ballot articles.
Ballot
have to be-
articles and the sheriff thing.
And they have until the 29th, the 30th.
No, that's us.
You don't know the date for the
18th.
the 18th on that Thursday?
Is it that Thursday?
It's the following Thursday. It's not next Thursday, it's a week after.
Right. So I was,
And they have until 5 o'clock that night. But I bet you they will have it in before then if they're going to. And I will reach out. I just know that there's personal stuff going on down there that Craig hasn't been able to get out
Oh,
and
yeah.
out. So the other guys are doing what they can. So I'm sure they'll get their signatures. I'm not worried about that. And the library already did.
Let's see what happens. If worst case scenario
We have another meeting on.
is we have a special meeting after the 18th, say the 22nd. Does that give you enough time?
Yeah.
I don't want to, I want to have, so I'm going to challenge the board to have our budget of what we have control over, other than the ballot articles, for the 18th.
And if you come up with numbers and get them to Tara, I will get them in and we will immediately email you a different
Yeah, 'cause
budget
then I-
sheet so you can read them over.
And I like to, start on the warning because those numbers at the beginning of the town warning are really important.
Right, so I'm gonna challenge the board to have our budget, other than the ballot articles, done for the 18th, and then we can adjust the final budget based on ballot articles.
Right, so if
At a
it's
special-
come in, it will go down 20,000.
Yeah.
And if it
And you can,
comes in, we're fine.
and if it comes in before then,
If somebody puts in another ballot article that we're not aware of,
you're still
gonna
fine.
change, yeah.
Then we'll have time, adjust it.
Yep.
Takes me 2 minutes, put a number in,
is that good?
readjust.
Good for you?
Okay, good.
Okay. I'm trying to make it so you're less against the wire.
I'm doing good this.
Oh, I know you're doing great. I
I even have our postcards ordered.
just don't want you against the wire, last minute. I don't want that for anybody.
And we did this meeting last year. We did it on the 5th, so we're actually ahead.
Yes, we are.
yeah.
Maybe?
Absolutely. Any more questions for Ellen? If not, then Ellen, thank you for your time tonight.
You're welcome.
Thanks for working so hard on this and making it
Problem,
easy to understand and,
no problem.
having all the answers for the questions. That's the other big thing, for sure.
Is there public comment next?
Yes.
Oh, wait, just.
Oh, just in case there's a public.
You might have public comment.
Just in case.
Yeah.
And, if there is public comment, Ellen, we're not gonna get into a debate.
Nope.
Okay, I won't let that happen.
Thank
It'll be just a question. If you can answer it now, that's fine. If you can't, you will get back to whoever asked that question.
Sounds great.
Okay? Any public comment? Okay.
Are you what? Jim Coast is calling, sorry. First of all, I'd like to say Ellen, thank you very much for a very informative meeting. You were able to answer the questions, and I give you kudos for questioning the transfer station because that is a big expense that kind of goes on there. Mike, I just want to let you know that you're just one comment of the rate on the sheriff's department. It's public information now, so you can give it out. I mean, I'm still at the point of being very confused on what's happening in all of the contract executive sessions. But
I'm not, Jim, I'm not,
I don't want to get into a debate.
I'm not gonna debate. I don't think the projected rate for fiscal year 25 is out. That's the one and if I'm wrong about that, I apologize. I just don't think that rate, that number is out there, Jim. That's
Okay,
the only one.
I'm sorry. I thought it was the current rate that you're going on, but I
No,
really would ask.
The projected one.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
really would ask the sheriff's department, because even if you increase the budget, the 10,000 from 75 to 85, it's close to a 32,000. I'd really like to see in public comments or public meetings what their increases involve, because that's a little ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure we got a nice new sheriff that came on board, and he was open to everything, and then all of a sudden we're getting hit with all of these huge costs. So I guess I have a question for him, and I will email him or talk to his office personally and just find out why this is happening. I do have a problem with, I can leave my house, go up to Bennington, and there's parking in that nice parking lot that is on Route 7, and I can go up to Bennington and spend 2 hours up there and come back, and that car is still there trying to get the speed limit on that Route 7. I just want to know, are we paying for him to sit there for Route 7, or are we paying them to patrol some of our roads and everything to take care of? That's a question that we need to just ask them of whether the revenues are coming in for that versus who's getting the revenues for them spending that time there. Other than that, I know that Ellen goes with taxes to be collected, which is what I go with. There are people that do look at what the bottom line budget is, and there are people that really don't realize that the revenues make a difference. But if Ellen can kind of give next week or at the time that you are going to approve the budget, an estimate of what the taxes to be collected will be. I'm sure it gives more people information ahead of time, because there's quite a bit of time in between, but that would be a good time to say taxes are going up a certain percentage. Ask your questions now, otherwise hold your peace. And I think it's something that it should be available ahead of time for everyone to kind of see. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Ellen, go ahead.
We usually do that when we do when you guys approve the budget, we usually do give the amount to be raised by taxes.
So we will, we have in the past, we will do that, Jim. We will give you the amount to be raised by taxes and the bottom line. Both, we'll have both numbers,
And we have exact numbers.
exact numbers. We obviously won't set the tax rate, but,
No, it all depends on the grand list, and that's
Yeah,
down the
yeah.
road, so.
but we will have both sets of numbers. I just didn't, with the preliminary budget discussion, I just didn't want to confuse a lot of people on that stuff tonight.
Because it can go up or down.
That's right. In the next couple of weeks or whatever, it can change. I'm kind of hoping it changes quite a bit, but I'm not seeing it changing a whole lot, unfortunately.
And just so you know, I hope that the building demolition that was up in the sheriff's department isn't part of our budget.
Oh, that's
No, that is
budget.
not that I know of.
Maybe that's probably got increased, Jim.
No, that's a county budget.
Yeah. Any more public comment, Hannah? Okay,
So that's it.
that's it. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Night. I will entertain a motion to enter executive for contractual.
So moved.
Second.
Good night, Carl. I have a motion on the floor, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hand on a couple minutes.
Carry.
I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive for contractual.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will entertain a motion for executive for personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive for personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any more public comment here? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.